Hi there, this is Michelle Holang. Welcome to the 41st episode of the Sparkle Experience Show. And I'm excited because tonight I have with me a special guest, Pam Heath. She's an amazing lady. She is the Yes Coach. She has been through a tremendous
Appreciate being here. I'm excited to be here. And I just want to say that I'm delighted because you're in Canada and I'm in Las Vegas, Nevada. So it just occurs like technology is really an amazing thing that we're sitting here having this conversation. Just like we're next door to each other and we're actually quite a distance from each other. So hi, welcome. I'm Pam Heath and I am the Yes Coach.
So Pam, you had a very big event with stage 3 pancreatic cancer the last few years, and so from all this working with you these last few years, there is something that I feel within you that allowed you to do that, to be able to uh, survive pancreatic cancer. And this is one of the worst cancers. It has an 18% survival rate. And here you are, you don't even look like you've been through anything. You're beautiful. Your face is resplendent. And so I'm really interested to find out what you have to say about the doctors, the things going through your mind, the things that you experience, because it's a very difficult battle what you have been through, and the insights I know will be very valuable to our viewers.
Well, I'm happy to share that with you. First of all, I'd like to say that I am 68 years old, and in somewhere in around June, July of 2023, I started having abdominal pain that was very intense, and I wasn't sure what was going on, and so I was staying with my sister at that time, and one night I was writhing in pain, and she said, "This is it, that I'm not sitting here listening to this anymore." And she took me to the emergency room and they did a series of tests on me. And it wasn't until a couple of weeks later that the diagnosis came back that I had third stage pancreatic cancer. Now, this diagnosis was devastating because, of course, like a lot of people these days, the first thing I did is I went to Wikipedia and I Googled it and I learned all about it. And it's one of the most aggressive cancers that there is. This is not something that I had planned on. As a matter of fact, I had no idea that that was something that could just happen to me. It happened to other people. You hear about it all the time. Many of the people that you hear about who passed from cancer passed from pancreatic cancer. It is almost a death sentence. When I first Googled it, it told me that there was an 18% or people who survive it. And today I Googled it just so for myself, so that when I came on the show today, and it's now the percentage is now 16%. So this is not a cancer that has a good prognosis. And yet here I sit, I had my operation, which they call a Whipple, which is when they go in, they use the robot. So I was Da Vinci. They went in and they removed my cancerous tumor. They removed a portion of my pancreas, and they removed my spleen. And after that surgery, the people who survive is 16%, and I am one of those 16% survivors. I survived cancer, and I came on the show today to specifically talk about my survival. Both my oncologist, my cancer doctor, and my um, surgical oncologist, the cancer surgeon, were just astounded at how I bounced back from the surgery. Given my age and the fact that at the time they found it, it was already in two of my lymph nodes, which is usually a bad sign. They were able to remove completely the cancerous tumor, and they tested me 2 months after they removed the cancerous tumor, and one of the things that they discovered, which is pretty regular for people who have pancreatic cancer, is that I had cancerous cells that were showing present in two of my lymph nodes. They tested me again last month, and those cancerous cells were no longer present. And the only thing I can say about that, they were both astounded, and my oncologist was also like, he's just like, it's amazing what you went through and how you are right now. I can tell you that I'm sitting next to the woman who was partially to blame for my miraculous recovery because the work that she does when she sparkles is just tremendous. And I want to say that you have to be 100% accountable and responsible for your own health and well-being. You can't just do whatever the doctors say. You have to look to see what do I need to create in my environment? What do I need to take on so that I'm healthy, so that I'm a stand for my health, not just listening to what others are saying, but to actually, what am I eating that's not supporting what I'm up to? What is my environment like? What do I need to do so that I can live powerfully? Because if I can't live powerfully, then why bother? Why bother go
That's
through all
yeah.
the chemotherapy? Why bother going through everything that they put you through when you have cancer? Why bother if you're not going to take responsibility for your health? So that's basically why I came today. I told Michelle that I had a message for the world, and that's my message. Be responsible for your health and well-being. Don't just do what people say, but really take on your health in your environment, your community, and in your thinking, and you will survive as I did.
Yeah, that's when you say take responsibility for your health, that for me is something really critical. It is, we have a mind, and when we go in and we get these devastating um, things told to us that you have this, especially the C word, there's a feeling within, and it's I can just imagine it's that and it can be a succumbing to that, just everything that they're saying. Well, you can expect this, and kudos to you, because you went out and you saw that 18% at the time, and you came out with your fists going ready to fight. And so there's, for me, with doing sparkle, it's a gift that I have. It's not just about sparkle, it's about the person. If you are not ready to give it your commitment, to get above it, and to keep your mind focused on where it is your health that you wanted to go at, and you just gave in and said, oh, I'm just gonna, yeah, the doctors say this and that, there's no way. I mean, there could be a smidgen where you get a miracle, but usually you're helped when you're willing to put in effort, no less for health. And it's, I mean, sure, sparkle is great, but you also had difficult times within that whole stretch that you were fighting it, did you not? Like, that's to
Yes, I
be
did. I
expected, right?
I have to say that people talk about you're in a community when you have cancer and you're going for chemotherapy, you're in a community, and in that side of that community of cancer survivors, we have this saying that cancer, I'm going to say the word sucks, but we use the word with the F on it. And so everybody says that, but I'm going to add that chemotherapy sucks. It really, the side effects of chemotherapy, when I first began this journey, fighting the cancer, and it took 2 years. I was diagnosed in 2023, and I am 8 months from my Whipple now in April of 2025. And 2 years of fighting, and I'm on the other side. And I'm here to tell you that chemotherapy is difficult. I was given a laundry list of side effects of being in chemo. When I first went for my very first chemo session, so there's this room and they have all these chairs with IVs and people just come and sit, and they installed a valve in my chest and they just plug you in and they download the medication. They call it a cocktail. And it was a room full of about 30 or 40 people that were getting their cocktail, and I was one of three people who was there all day. So, you come in and they give you your cocktail and you leave. And me and two other people, we were there all day because our cocktail was that intense. And I did that 3 times a week, every week for 6 months. And when you go in for the radiation, same thing. It's intense, and the side effects from it is just unbelievable. And I was so sick so many times after coming from chemo, I couldn't even function. And one of the things that was very clear to me is I am not committed to living my life inside of that kind of misery. So when you talk about me putting up my fist, I determined this is not how I'm going to fight cancer. And I declined chemotherapy. They wanted me to continue the chemotherapy for another 6 months, and I declined. And I share that with you hesitantly because I don't want people listening to what I say and then saying, to their own doctors, I'm not going to do chemotherapy because I don't want you to be irresponsible about your health and well-being. I tried 6 months of chemotherapy and the side effects didn't work for me. And so I spent the next 6 months focusing organically on organic opportunities to fight the cancer, working with Michelle and working with another energy healer and doing everything I could, and I'm on the other side. I can't promise you it would be the same thing. You have to be responsible for your health and well-being. I don't want you to do what I did and then something doesn't turn out and you want to blame me because then you're not being responsible. I take full responsibility for my health. And if something didn't go right or something went wrong, I would have been fully responsible for that. And can I take a moment, Michelle? I just want to share the what happened at the cardiologist.
Oh, sure.
Can I share?
For
So,
sure.
one of the things that chemotherapy does, it weakens your heart. And I have had 2 heart attacks since the Whipple because my heart isn't as strong as it was before the chemotherapy. And because of the how it weakens your heart, the Whipple is a marathon surgery. It's one of those surgeries that lasts almost 8 hours. And they weren't sure that they could do the Whipple with me because of my heart. And so, not knowing whether or not they could do the surgery, they sent me to a specialist, a cardiologist, whose job it was to determine whether or not my heart was strong enough to withstand the Whipple surgery. And so they said this surgery will save your life, and we want to do it, but we got to make sure that you can survive the surgery itself. So my health insurance pays for my visits to the doctor, and I'm on a fixed income. I rarely have you know, extra cash. And so the Uber driver was sent to pick me up that morning to take me to the cardiologist. And when he dropped me off at the wrong address. And I didn't know that he dropped me off at the wrong address. I assumed when he stopped and said that I was there that he brought me to the address that he had been given. So I got out of the car and at that time, while I was in chemotherapy, I was walking with a walker because I was very weak. Walking and standing for a long period of time used to drain me and I couldn't function. So I was walking with a walker. So I walked with a walker into the building. I went to the front desk and I asked for the cardiologist by name. And I was told there's no such doctor in this building. And I was done because I didn't know what happened. So I took a moment, I checked my details, and I realized when I looked up at the building that I was at the wrong address. And I didn't know what to do because I didn't have any more money and I couldn't call and get another ride because you set those rides up 3 days ahead of time. So I couldn't just call and say, hey, you dropped me at the wrong address, take me somewhere else. So I was kind of stuck there and I didn't know what to do. So I sat there for a minute and then I looked at the address again where I was supposed to be. And I realized, well, that's only 3 blocks away. I guess I'll walk. And so I got my little walker and I just do. I walked those 3 blocks to the cardiologist's office, which was down the street. And when I arrived, the appointment was for 8:30 and I got there at like 8:29. And they didn't ask me any questions and I didn't offer anything. I just checked in and they took me in and then the doctor put me through a plethora of tests to test my heart. The treadmill, all the things they do. They gave me medicine, chemicals to make my heart race. They did all kinds of things to test my heart. And then afterwards, the doctor was kind of vacillating. He wasn't sure because his job was to tell them whether or not my heart could withstand the Whipple surgery, and he wasn't sure after he saw the results of all the tests. And so he's asking me, "Can I ask you, Pamela, do you exercise regularly?" And I kind of hung my head and said, "No, I actually don't. I don't." And he said, "Well, do you at least walk?" And I said, "Oh, I don't do that either, but I did this morning." And he said, well, what do you mean? And I told him, I said, well, the Uber driver dropped me at the wrong address. And when I realized that I had to walk 3 blocks from, and I told him the address where I walked from. And you have to realize I live in Las Vegas, Nevada, and in July at 8 o'clock in the morning was 110 degrees outside. When I arrived at the doctor, I wasn't sweating, I wasn't out of breath. I just walked to those 3 blocks, and then they put me through a battery of the test. And he looked at me, the look on his face, I wish I had thought to snap a picture of it because he said, you did what? You just walked all the way from that address to here. Then you went through all those tests and you haven't even busted a sweat yet. And he said, well, if you can do that, you can stand the surgery. And he got up right then and there and he went to the phone. He called the surgeon. He said, schedule her for surgery right now. And they did. And I had the surgery on July 5th of 2024, and it was a success. And I stand here now in officially in remission. I have not experienced any problems, which is a lot of people who have pancreatic cancer do experience a resurgence of the cancer, and I have not. And I attained health and well-being by being a stand for my health and well-being. And that miracle, because it was a miracle, how in the world did that Uber driver drop me at the wrong address? I looked into it later just for curiosity, and he was given the right address. I gave the right address to the health insurance. They gave him the right address. He dropped me at the wrong address. So you have to have faith in spirituality when you hear about that experience. So I want you to know that there is no more proof that I need that it was destined for me to survive that cancer than me showing them, demonstrating to them that I was strong enough to withstand the surgery. And so I had the surgery, and I sit here now in remission from, third stage pancreatic cancer. And I'm here to tell you that anything that you take on in life is possible as long as you're willing to be responsible, to hold the space, and to be willing to accept that you have everything to say about your health and how you feel. It's in your hands, I promise you. And that's what I'm here to share.
And what's amazing, Pam, is what the listeners don't know is that a few weeks before that, they were telling you you couldn't have the surgery because they were saying that your heart wasn't strong enough. And you just mentioned before you told the story that you were weak, you had to use a walker. So how the heck
Yeah.
did you get from there to there? And I look at it a different way too as well. And so what happens is that the sparkle is something that opens up possibilities. And so what I see is that I'm just having a screen thing here going on. Anyways, so what it is that we all have things happen, and I don't know if you can explain, because from listening it's not clear how sparkle can help. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Like
I
like
can
the
tell you myself personally, I can share. I hear what you're saying. I
Mhm.
can I can understand if someone's never been sparkled,
Yes, that's right.
but
That's what I'm
the thing that might come is what the heck is sparkle? And I can tell you that if you accept the tenet that life is energy, then you and I are energy, and the universe revolves on energy. And what Sparkle does, you have a gift, it's extraordinary. And your gift is that you can manipulate energy. And let's say the energy has colors. We'll just say that for no other reason than just for kicks and giggles. If energy has colors and the energy for health and well-being is blue, and my energy at the moment is green, for whatever reason, it's green. You help me polish my energy to bring it to blue. I have the ability to do that, but I needed support. I needed help to fine tune it so that my energy resonated with health and well-being. Now, you can wonder about that. I know that for myself, I've seen other things happen in my life that convinced me that anything's possible, which is why I'm the yes coach. I train and develop people in yes energy because I say that anything's possible. So one of the things that I'm really present to is that when you sparkle, and I'll share with you and your audience that I too have a gift. I've always had this gift. My gift is I see energy. And some people, they may or may not, they may be skeptical about that. You see energy? What do you mean you see energy? Okay, when I look at you, like you notice then in my Zoom back room, there's all these different colors and it's coming out like, woo, that's what I see when I look at people. When someone is high energy, like you are, Michelle, I see it revolve around them. And the first time that I ever encountered you when you were doing your sparkling, I saw what you were doing. And I was like, oh, I'd never seen anything like that before. Someone who was actually working with manipulating, if you will. That's one word. I don't like that word because it sounds tangible, and this is much
I
more
like to think of it as moving,
like moving. It's
moving
not
things around. It's
manipulative.
not manipulate. It's
You are
moving. It's
managing,
actually managing,
and
moving.
and I can see it. And the first time I met you, I saw it. And then when you said, because you were working with somebody else on a Zoom, and I was like, look what she's doing. I can see the energy moving. And I knew that you had this gift. You had this extraordinary gift. My gift is I get to see it. It's funny because you can't see it, but I can. That's why, when I first started working with you, when I first got diagnosed, because in the beginning when I first was being symptomatic, they didn't know what was wrong with me, and they did a lot of tests and they finally realized I had cancer. But there was something going on with me, and you used to work with me. It was just amazing, the results that I received. So then when they had me doing chemotherapy, when they had me doing things that weren't working for me, I would go to you and you would do the sparkle and I would be better. And I started comparing the chemotherapy and the radiation to sparkling. And I said, I prefer sparkle. I prefer sparkle. And again, I want to be responsible for how that lands for people because I don't want to tell you that if you get diagnosed with cancer, don't do chemo. I'm not going to say that. I will never tell you what to do. You have to be responsible for your health and well-being, just as I was responsible for mine. All I can tell you is that both my oncologist and my oncological surgeon just are amazed at how I'm doing. And I was told, if you discontinue your chemotherapy, we can't be responsible for you not getting cancer again. And so far, I'm fine.
Well, the
And
thing,
they had to admit it. They
Pam,
both saw me recently, and they had to admit it. You look amazing. You're
right?
doing well. There are no cancerous cells in your lymph nodes anymore. Well, that lady right there, it's all her fault. Let me know when it's time to talk about the cold plasma
Right.
machine.
Well, what I just want to say is that you signed up with me immediately as a VIP client. And it took me 3 meetings with you until I went, okay, tell me, explain. What do you mean that you can see what I'm doing? Because I don't see energy. I don't see colors. Something I always wish I could do. But and you said, I see you, what you're doing. I see you bringing things in, pulling things out, going through the screen, moving things around, and you see my energy as well, right?
Yes, I can see it for you and others. I've told people this. Some people they're skeptical, they don't believe me, and I don't care. It's nothing that so far I haven't found any reason to monetize on that. It's a gift I have. I come from a family of females who are gifted with spiritual energy, and that's just my particular gift. And who cares, what big whoop, but it helps me see when somebody's authentically connected energy wise and what they're doing. I can
Right.
tell
So
because I can see it.
yeah, and I actually, it took me a while to understand what you meant because you met me the first time. He said, "You're the one. There's nobody else that does what you do." That first
Yeah,
meeting,
I've never seen as powerful energy worker as you. I've never seen that, and I've yet to see that. I see the energy you work with, and it blows my mind. I don't even think, to be perfectly frank, that you get how powerful you are.
I've been
Like
told by other healers.
yeah, I see it, and I'm like, wow, look at what she's doing. And so, yes, there is power in the sparkle. And if you haven't yet been sparkled, if you're looking at this, because I realize that, we have Maylin is here, you know, alive with us, but that there will be people looking at the replay later on YouTube, and they'll be looking and say, "Ooh, what's Pam talking about?" Here's the thing: if you've never been sparkled, you're missing out. You're missing out because this woman has a gift. And when you get Sparkle, she takes the energy that you have, and she helps you to fine tune it, to focus, to get clarity, and to get yourself connected to what it is that you're up to, not just health wise, but career wise, romantic wise, whatever it is that you're up to in life. It's all generated and empowered by your energy field. Life is energy. If you accept that, then you have to accept that energy is malleable. You can move it just like you switch a light switch on and off. You walk into a room and it's dark. In order for you to get access to power, you have to turn the light on. The same thing. Relate to Michelle as a switch to turn on your
Because that's
light.
what the
Because she's
BCEO of
really good
you,
at that.
yeah, I say BCEO of you is to activate your sparkle, get clear enough where I help you to release things, and then your light can start to shine. And that's what the Master the Art of You program is about. And I have a bunch of people on there I know, and they're just amazed because they've seen transformation in each other, especially one particular person, and they've also realized that they're tuning into themselves more and more now, and they are able to catch themselves when they're starting to go down this spiral and be more in control of their feelings and their emotions and everything else. There's also one thing is people say, well, how does sparkle work? And I say to them, it doesn't matter. Energy has no time or space. It's all in a mush. So whether you watch a replay or you're live here, it is still possible to tune into the energy and have it flow. And so you even realized something about 3 or 4 months ago after the Whipple, and they were pulling out that long tube. Well, it was
Yes,
before that. It was not that. It was a time before that, just before, where you had to go into the hospital because they did something that created a problem. And so
yes,
they had a problem that you reached out to me because you're in so much pain, and you
yes,
texted me, and I said, okay, I got it. And then right after that, you were good.
yes.
Remember?
So what happened, just so you know, what you're talking about is one of the side effects of chemotherapy is I developed a blood clot, and that blood clot traveled into my lung and was hampering my ability to breathe. And I went to the hospital, I went to the emergency room, and they misdiagnosed me with pneumonia. So I'm sitting in the hospital and they're treating me for pneumonia when they should have been treating me for a blood clot. And I was in pain, I couldn't breathe, and they weren't taking care of me. They sent me home. I ended up back in the emergency room a few weeks later, and they had to do emergency surgery to remove the blood clot. But I reached out to Michelle because I couldn't breathe, and I was in the hospital and couldn't breathe. I was in pain, and I said, "You got to help me." And she sparkled me, and I was able to go home. And it's really crazy because it's hard to articulate that I've come to understand that your mind is more powerful than any medicine that man can create. And when she helped me focus and get clear on she helped me breathe, and I couldn't breathe. There was a clot in my lung. I couldn't breathe. And I was in the hospital, but they had misdiagnosed me. They weren't treating me for what was wrong with me. And so what Michelle did is she helped my body breathe and relieve the pain without the help of their medicine.
Just for clarity, though, we didn't talk. You texted me.
Right. I
And you
texted you.
said,
I
I
didn't,
can't breathe. I need help. And I said, I got your text immediately. I said, okay, I'm on it.
yeah.
Got you.
Yeah, and I've got to the point now where I do it all the time. When something's going on, I text her and say, "Send me some sparkle, please. I'm in trouble." And she immediately got it and she's on it. She doesn't need to physically be in the same room with you to affect your energy field.
We just realized that after how many years, a year and a half. I was telling you
Yeah,
that.
you and I have been working together since I was diagnosed, even
Well, no,
before I was
before,
diagnosed, when I was symptomatic and we didn't know what was wrong with me.
right, but I started working with you because you had problems with COVID because you were having
Yeah, I
dropsy.
got
You
COVID. That was
couldn't
the first
you
thing. Yeah, I
couldn't stay
got
awake
COVID.
after a certain time during the
And I
day,
probably had the cancer then,
but didn't know.
and COVID exasperated it
Mhm.
because they keep telling me that I was very fortunate because pancreatic cancer is not symptomatic until it's too late. Once you start developing symptoms and they realize you have it, it's too late to do anything about it. But I was symptomatic, and that was one of the reasons they caught it. And they didn't know what was wrong with me. I was symptomatic, and it was the COVID that brought it out, so it's wild.
It
It's
was because
absolutely
that
wild.
the
Yeah.
second session I had with you, you said you were on fire after that.
Yeah, I led a workshop the next day and I had almost a 90% registration into my course from that workshop. I was on fire. And that was way back when I first started being symptomatic. And it was about maybe 4 or 5 months after that I was so badly in pain that my sister took me to the ER, and that's when they did specific tests. They took a CT scan, an MRI, and they saw the tumor. And they said, you have a tumor and it's in your pancreas. You have pancreatic cancer and it's third stage. And so I was very fortunate because they caught it, because usually when it's symptomatic, it's too late.
We all have a journey, and it's how do we get through the journey and get through there with still that appreciation, that joy, that ability to make choices and have the mind to make the choice for yourself and not be in fear. We work through a lot of fear.
Yes,
We work through a lot of fear. Your mind's ability
yes,
to control your body is stronger than we could ever imagine. And we have to start to remember how to heal ourselves. I facilitate you turning on your juice. Mind you, I
yeah,
do more than that, but I'm giving you the ability to harness your own energy. And maybe there's a miracle or two in there too. There's always miracles,
absolutely, absolutely.
but it's just to get that energy moving.
I'm here with the specific message because, when I found out that they misdiagnosed me, and I didn't have pneumonia, I had a blood clot, I was very angry and I wanted to sue them and I was up in arms. And, I had a very dear friend who is also a client, and I was sharing with her my anger. I wanted to go down there and punch somebody. I was really angry. What she said to me was, I've known you for years now, and I know that this anger is not what sources you. And, it's almost like it's not you at all. Instead of being angry, I'd like you to consider that there's a miracle waiting here. And whatever that miracle is, it's your next share. So instead of being angry and figuring out who you're going to sue, why don't you figure out what your next share is going to be around this and what the miracle is going to be? And I stopped because I really didn't have anything to say to that. And I remember saying to her, because she reminded me later, I can do that. And I hung up the phone, and the next day, the Uber driver dropped me at the wrong address. Do you get it?
Yeah, it's
It's like,
beautiful. It
oh, I could have made that into this whole upset, right?
yeah, it's a
Instead,
beautiful
it's for my
story.
next share.
Hmm.
Now it's this miracle. I share it all the time with Uber drivers. It's like it inspires and motivates them versus shaking my fist and being mad at Uber drivers. That was a miracle. That man saved my life.
Well, I talk about the
Dropping me at the
silver
wrong.
lining in every dark cloud, right? You find the
Right,
silver and
there's a reason for everything.
yeah.
And like I said, there's a miracle in that. There's a miracle in that they misdiagnosed me and I was sent home and spent the next 2 months with a clot in my lung and survived that. I survived the Whipple surgery. I have no cancerous cells in my lymph nodes. I am
You
thriving and
And I covered on this particular podcast on episode 20 this thing that I had not taken a look at called cold oxygen plasma. Because my co-host was for a few months was saying you need to interview this fellow Ron Levinson on your show, and I said why, what's with this air purifier? I'm not really interested. That's a reaction everybody has. But when he was
Yes.
on episode 20, I was going, what does it does what it does what? And
Yeah.
then you came on the episode and you heard about it and you did what?
Yes. And I questioned him, and I tell you, you invited me. You invited me, and I came on the episode, and the minute I heard him, I knew I had to have this machine. And it cost $800. And I haven't worked since I was diagnosed. I'm on Social Security now. I officially retired, and I'm on a fixed income. $800 is, you might as well say $80,000. And yet I made it happen. I started scraping it together because I knew the minute I heard him speak, I need that machine. That's one of the things I need to support my environment to be sanitized and bacteria free. If once they, just so you know, they removed my spleen, and your spleen is the organ in your body that manages your immune system. So I am now immune compromised. And I'm not going to get caught up in that or come from fear or upset or worry. I got my cold plasma machine because that's what there was to do. It's like if you stand in being responsible for your health and well-being, you're not afraid. You're not coming from concern and worry and fear. You're coming from, what do I do to empower myself or manage myself so that I am healthy, wealthy, and wise? Then you take on the actions that are correlate with that, whatever it takes. I didn't rob a bank. I didn't beat anybody up or carjack anybody. I put that money together. She'll ask you. I was telling her, I'm going to get that. I'm going to get that. And then the
No
day came
matter
when I had it.
what.
I said,
No
I'm
matter
I'm
what.
ready to buy it. Let's get this machine in my house. And then I filmed a video of myself opening the box on YouTube. I said, I got my cold plasma machine. I tell you, the minute I heard Ronnie speak, I knew that I had to have that machine. I had to have it, and I have
What
it now.
what
And I'm
has it
telling
done
you
for you,
right now,
Pam?
this is one of the main reasons why I say that I am so healthy right now, and why my oncologists, they have to every 3 months, the oncologist, the cardiologist, and the ontological surgeon have to check in with me, because for 5 years they watch you. When pancreatic cancer is so aggressive that even after the Whipple, they watch you carefully because most people get it again, and it is lethal. And I am doing fine. And I say it's because of the cold plasma machine. If you've heard about this machine and you haven't gotten it because it costs $800, I'm telling you right now, $800 versus your life. Any questions? Here I sit, and I blame, Michelle and her cold plasma machine. And I didn't know any more than you know. I sat and watched that show, and I questioned Ronnie. She'll tell you.
Mm.
I asked questions, what about this? What about that? And I told him I have cancer. And, at the time, I hadn't had the Whipple yet. And I made up my mind. This is obviously what I need. I need to make it happen. And I did. I made it happen. You need to make it happen. If you don't have this cold plasma machine in your house, don't blame me and don't blame Michelle.
You said something really interesting to me a few months ago when you were talking about what you're finding with a unit.
Why can't I hear you? There you are. There you are.
Oh, okay. So what I was saying is that a few months ago I asked you, so what is this unit doing for you? And you said something really interesting to me. You said you sent me the data sheet of all the things it kills. I can't even pronounce some of the things it kills. Bacteria, germs, viruses, toxic gases, VOCs, the volatile organic compounds. It takes all these impurities out of the air. You told me it has so many things on there, I don't even have to worry anymore because I know it's dead, right? You know it's eliminated out
It
of
made
your
sense to me
atmosphere.
when you said it. I believed you.
Hmm.
And one of the things that you told me is that it kills all that stuff in the background. So no, it doesn't have an alarm on there with a voice that says, just kill the virus, just kill the bacteria, ding, 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 ding. It doesn't announce or
Yeah, you're
anything
a
like that.
gamer,
But
so
I
you'd
can
love
tell
that,
you
right?
that I moved into this apartment in July of last year. The apartment I lived in before, when I first moved to Las Vegas, while I was having my surgery, someone broke in and robbed me. And so I no longer felt safe at that apartment. I moved into another one. And when we moved in, my son, who now lives with me, um, we both noticed there was this odor in the apartment. It was like, whew, but there was no visible sign of what was making the smell. It was just like this permeating smell, and everybody who visited me, because I was very fortunate. I was living here alone, and I was 68 years old with third stage cancer. So my insurance paid for me to have a nurse practitioner, a nutritionist, because when you have the Whipple, it alters your eating patterns. And the nurse practitioner, nutritionist, and there was one other person who came. I can't remember who they were. There were three people, the social worker to make sure my mental state was okay. And I remember that they all mentioned, because they would visit me once a month, the smell. It was like, ew, what is that smell? And you know, when you move into a place, there might be a smell and you get used to it and it's not so bad, but then somebody comes to visit you and they go, ew, it stinks in here. So when I put in the cold plasma machine, no more smell. Now, my son and I were convinced that something died in the walls. You know how that goes. Something gets in the walls and a rat or something dies, and then you get this smell that kind of lingers, and that's what we thought it was. Whatever it was, it's still there, but there's no more smell in my apartment. And that is due to the cold plasma machine. And that, above all everything else, tells me that it's working. There's nothing else, there's nothing on that machine that's going to tell you that it's working other than you feel better. You almost forget it's there because it's very quiet. It doesn't make a noise like a fan does when you've got the air conditioner running. It's very quiet. You forget about it. You totally forget about it, but it's definitely at work. And my evidence is that smell, whatever that smell was permeating my apartment, everybody who visited me could smell it. Now nobody smells it. Whatever that thing was that died in the walls, it's still there, but the smell is gone.
This unit, for me, it's one of the best kept secrets. And no matter what challenges you're having, whether it's asthma, breathing, you're catching colds, or you're not feeling good, nauseous, or out of sorts, they say in the US government, US, they say that even on the Canadian government website says a very high, over 70% of buildings have mold, some kind of mold growing in them. This thing kills mold. I have proof. I did my experiment on episode
Mhm.
33 and it kills mold. So if you're feeling any which way, carbon monoxide, H2S, it neutralizes those gases. If it does that to those gases, plus the VOCs, plus the dust mites, plus the viruses, it kills COVID in zero point 0.4 of a second. It kills E. coli, salmonella, all those things. Your cooking could be safer when you have the stuff on your counter. Imagine all that with one little device that just is in the background and you fill up your air like you're filling up a fish tank. And it could be such a gift to your whole family, especially if you don't know what's causing something and you've tried testing yourself for allergens or you have COPD from being in smoke or you have smoke, forest fire smoke coming up this summer where the particles, 2.5 nanometer particles in your house are no longer there because the cold oxygen plasma weighs down all those particles, brings it to the ground, and you're not breathing it because it's not in the air anymore. One of my
Yeah.
customers, he said he got a unit, he didn't notice anything, but he noticed a glass tabletop in his bedroom where he has a Dyson air purifier that used to get dusty very quickly, had no dust on it. And I said, "Well, where's your glass table?" He says, "In the bedroom." "And where do you open your window because it's winter here?" He says, "Well, way in the living room there." So I said, "By the time the air gets to your glass table in your bedroom, there's no dust left." Because all the cold oxygen plasma
Yeah.
has
Yeah,
weighed
it's
it down.
really it's
It's no
amazing
longer.
really because I talked to you about how you have to be responsible for your environment because we live in a time when there's chemicals in the air and there's chemicals in the food we eat. And this device kills and sanitizes the air. And you really need that. Now, here
And
I am, I'm sitting
surfaces.
here without
Sur
spleen,
yeah.
so I don't have the ability to fight germs and bacteria like I did before the Whipple. And I believe that this cold plasma machine, it boisters my ability to fight by removing those things from the atmosphere. And you need something. It's not the way it was when our parents were young. We are dealing with stuff they never even heard of, chemicals that are beyond them. Even COVID, that disease is man-made. It's not natural. It's completely man-made. So what are you going to do when more diseases just like it come along? If you have a machine like this, you can't tell me, like Michelle shared with me, some people complain about the price. Are you kidding? Are you freaking kidding me? When you weigh the amount of money it will cost you when you get sick. I mean, I just fought 2 years with cancer and I couldn't work for 2 years. I lost my home, I lost my car, I lost everything because I couldn't pay the bills because I didn't have anything set aside in case I couldn't work for 2 years. Some people set aside, money so that they can't work for a few months, if they break an arm, break a leg. I had cancer. I couldn't work at all. I'm just now getting back to work. And I'm telling you, having something like this will prevent you from getting, I mean, people are getting cancer more now than ever before. So you want to take this on. You want to take on being responsible for your health, being responsible for your environment, having a community that supports and empowers you to be as healthy as you can be. And one way you do that is by getting this cold plasma machine. If you are concerned about it, get it and try it. I'm telling you, you have no idea the power that is available when you get one of these machines in your home. And I came here specifically today to share that with you. And if you don't believe me, too bad, too bad, because it's true.
It is true. And they when I think about this machine, the uses are applications, it's endless. Children in daycare, they come home sick, what happens? The cycle of sickness occurs. People in restaurants, I have a person I know, and she says every time the clients are sick, the staff in the restaurant gets sick, and then they bring it home, then the kids get sick. So it's not just in a daycare, it's at school, it's at work. If you have this device working in where you are and people are sick, it kills the germs before it gets to you. And it sanitizes surfaces it touches, because this cold oxygen plasma, I think it's a gift from heaven.
I,
I
I do. I think
It
it's a,
doesn't kill good bacteria. There's plasma oncology. It kills only the bad cancer cells.
unlike chemotherapy,
Precisely.
which kills all the cells, not just the bad ones, the good ones too. You have good bacteria in your body that help you fight illness. And when you get chemo, it kills everything.
Mhm.
That's why chemo is so rough on you. It weakened my heart. I got COPD from chemotherapy, and now I have COPD. And I'm telling you right now that I say, and I'm sharing my experience, but the COPD, I've had no respiratory crisis since I bought that machine, and I was having respiratory crisis for months
Seriously?
because the
You
chemotherapy
didn't
gave me
tell me that,
COPD.
Pam. You didn't tell me that before.
Yeah, I don't talk about it too much
Be-
because the reality is I've not experienced any crisis in months. It's
Okay,
almost like I
because
forgot about it.
this supports episode, let me think, no, episode 25. Pam came on, another Pam, and her mom had COPD very badly, and she almost died from an attack. And Ron told her to put a unit in her room. She did that. And the month and a half after, she had had none, no attacks. She used to have minimum two to three,
No attacks,
no
no
attacks at
more.
all. Not only that, month two, she started to ask to
They
play.
call them respiratory crisis. Yeah, I haven't had no respiratory crisis since I've had the machine. I've had the machine in my home since September of 2024. And they believe that the chemotherapy created the COPD because I didn't have it before.
Mhm.
I got a lot from the chemo. That's why I stopped it. I was getting more, what's the word? There was more bads from the chemo than having the cancer. And finally, I said, let me find my own way to fight this cancer. And I had a very heart talk with the nurse practitioner that was coming every month. That and he told me, this is how they fight cancer with chemo. If you don't want to use chemo, fine, but do something. You got to do something. You can't do nothing, or it's just going to take you out.
Mhm.
And so, I worked with Michelle. I got the cold plasma machine, and here I sit. Just look at me, and I am thriving. And I blame Michelle. It's all
Well,
her fault.
after your Whipple, you told me you were groggy right after the surgery, but the next day you were up and you were walking around and they
Yes,
were following you to make sure you wouldn't fall down. And then they checked you out of the hospital the day
yes,
after, which they do not do because normally
they
they
do
send
not
them to
do.
what do they call it? A care place where you get rehabilitated to move and to eat and to do things on your own. And you went straight
Normally,
home.
because when they open up your abdomen like that, it makes it difficult for you to sit up and get out of bed. So I went in on a Friday morning. I was scheduled to be released on Tuesday. And their intention was to train me how to get up and roll and get out of bed. So the first time when I woke up from the surgery, they had to help me get out of bed so I could go to the bathroom. I insisted because I didn't want to use a bedpan because they would have brought me a bedpan, but I was like, no, I will not pee on a little bucket. And so they helped me get out of bed. The second time I got up by myself, and then I just kept getting up, and then I was walking around, and then I did a whole, and I was using my walker. I walked all around the ward, and the next day they released me. They said, you don't need us. You're fine.
But that's
And
not normal.
so I was home on Sunday afternoon. That does not happen. After a Whipple, you got to they opened up my abdomen. And then the next day I was getting out of bed by myself, and that doesn't happen. And I want you to know that, getting sparkled is what it's all about. It's a mindset thing as well. You have to open yourself up to it. I'm not saying you can't be skeptical, but I understand skepticism, but the reality is that how can I say this? It's not that, general medicine is behind the times when it comes to spirituality. I mean, the doctors have only been washing their hands between surgeries for the last 100 years. Do you know that when they were delivering babies in the 18th century, the mortality rate was so high because they would do surgery and then go without washing their hands and deliver babies, and the mother would die because they were giving them all these diseases because they didn't understand the concept of germs. So they're still learning. They're still learning. And I got nothing. I'm not going to talk smack about doctors because the doctors saved my life. But I'm just saying just because they went to school a little longer than you and got a degree you don't have doesn't make them the master of your destiny. You have to be responsible for your health and well-being. And that's the point and the message of this episode. And I'm proud to be here. And I wouldn't be here if it were not for Michelle. So I'm here to tell you, get sparkled, get the cold plasma machine. If you don't have the money, put the money aside, save the money up. It's important. It's more important than that dress you had your eye on. It, it's more important than that vacation that you're saving up for. Get the cold plasma machine. It's the best $800 you ever spent. And if you don't believe me, try it. Test me.
Ron has a 30-day money back guarantee.
Yeah, there's a money back guarantee and the money back. But like I said, there's no bells and whistles that let you know that it's working. You just need to know that it's working. And the what's the word I'm looking for? I'm the proof. I'm sitting here. Third stage pancreatic cancer. Google it. That's who's sitting here right now on the other
And
side.
looking beautiful.
I have that cold plasma machine and I got sparkle on command. That's what you need.
And you're looking beautiful,
Michelle
Pam.
Holung is the best kept secret in the health industry. Get some, go get some. And that's all I got to say. And I think we're done, aren't we? Isn't that
Well,
the end of the
Yeah, thank you
of the
so much,
show.
Pam. I appreciate you. You are a wonderful supporter. I'm so
Absolutely.
thrilled.
And if anybody
I'm
has
so
any questions they want to ask me, if there's anything you want to know, I know there's a couple of people here. If you want to ask me any questions, feel free to do that. I'm here. I'll answer any question you got. If you have a question. If you don't, you just want to like hang out and listen, that's fine too.
Pam, I appreciate your candidness about your journey because it takes a lot to share personal things like this with with the world because that's who we're sharing with right now. And I appreciate your thoughts on the cold oxygen plasma because the way I see it is I don't know why people can't see what the blessing this unit is. It's where you can lead a horse to the water, but you can't get the horse to drink. And there's so much stuff going out. People are having trouble having babies. They're having trouble with all sorts of things because of all the toxins and the water and the air we breathe. And if we can just manage the air in our homes, because that would be so good. We can manage it in the cars because there's a unit for the car. And then your
Yes,
body
I
can
have the
then,
card.
yeah, your body can then rest at night because it gets rid of the what they call toxic overload. The body's there's research if you Google it, the human body is so bombarded with having to deal with all these toxins in the air and in the water that we drink and in the foods we eat that the body has to cleanse itself before it can even start to heal at night when you go to sleep. What this unit, if you think about it very logically, what this unit does is it gets in your home where you need to sleep, your haven, your sanctuary. It gets in your home, gets rid of everything that is toxic to you in your home once you've had it running and it's enough in your space and it's filled up your house over a few weeks, right? Or maybe a month, depending on how big your house is. Then once it does that, then your body comes into your home and it goes, wow, this is so clean. Your body relaxes into it. And when you go to sleep, your body can go to task, healing, and doing all the things it needs to get to bring healing back into your body, to heal what needs to be healed, to purge what needs to be purged, to cleanse what needs to be cleansed. And Pam, I appreciate you seeing that because you are safer and you're going to be around for hopefully many, many more years because of the stance you're taking and the energy you bring to the table and you being the yes coach because you are the yes coach. I mean, you do amazing coaching, and for anybody who needs a great coach, speak to Pam because what's your email address, Pam?
I'm Pam Heath at yescoachforyou.com. That's yescoach, the number four, the letter U.com.
Okay. And we'll put it in the description on the replay on the YouTube channel at the Sparkle
Okay.
Experience Show, okay? Now, do we still, I know we're at the top of the hour, we should end now, but I always like to offer the opportunity of a sparkle at the end.
Oh, I'd love a sparkle.
So
Let's
if
have a sparkle. Let's have a sparkle.
and so, it's a time to celebrate, right? A time to give thanks. And it's still life happens, and there's still things that come up because it brings challenges to us all the time. But if we can keep our energy high, and Sparkle does that, it allows you to get rid of stuff that comes at you, to get back centered, to get back grounded. And so when we're able to do that, then guess what? In my experience, and I guess in your experience, you can handle more challenges because your energy is higher. So you're able to look at things differently because you have that energy to process things
Yes,
and keep a positive attitude because it's a lot harder to stay positive when your energy is low, rock bottom. It's hard because there's nothing to draw on. But when you keep your energy up, you get centered and grounded, then beautiful things can happen because it's all about the law of attraction as well. What you focus on, you attract. So let's focus on beautiful health. Any intentions for the sparkle tonight?